Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you are new here. If you are new here, hello. My name is Roxanne, also known as Bye Bun. I'm a mixed media artist, illustrator, and maker of things. Today I'm bringing you a sketchbook tour. This is a sketchbook that I've been working on for quite some time, and it's actually what I would call this my mixed media sketchbook slash maybe even an art journal. I always in my stack of sketchbooks have one of these Moleskine, what are these? The Moleskine Art Plus sketchbooks. I always have one of these in the rotation because I like the paper and it's really great for mixed media chaos. I tend to use these as both a sketchbook, a dumping ground for leftover things, random sketchbook sessions or outings, and then also full-blown art journal spreads. So it's a real amalgamation of random creative things. It's a bit chaotic. I would call this like my chaotic mixed media sketchbook art journal thing. But I always love having one of these in the mix. As a mixed media artist, I do tend to work a lot in altered books. So a lot of my art journal spreads live in that kind of format in books, but I always like to have one that just has blank pages just to kind of mix things up. So I'm not just working with book pages, but blank pages as well. And I find that these hardcover Moleskines, again, specifically the Art Plus sketchbooks, work really well for that kind of work. And obviously to avoid having too much chunk, I like to throw other random things in there as well. So this is a real mashup of kind of random things. I'll just say that. I started this guy in January of 2020, so just right before the pandemic started, which is crazy, and have just finished it up now in August of 2022. As I said, I always work in a lot of books at one time. I literally have like a stack of anywhere between 8 to 10 sketchbooks and art journals going on at one time, so I bounce around a lot. Only recently have I come back to this and I've kind of finished it up because I joined a local drawing club and I kind of use that as a means of coming back and filling in some of my pages. But for me, I also just feel like in my gut, this guy is done. I'm tired of working in it. It feels pretty full for me, so I'm ready to move on to something else. Links to things that I mention and this sketchbook as well will be down below, including Amazon affiliate links as well. And let's just get right into it. Oh, and one last thing. I always like to put up a non-talking version of my sketchbook flips as well. So if you don't want to hear this longer chatty version, stay tuned. There will be a music only flip through, which you can watch so you don't have to hear me talking. All right, let's get into it. First up is stickers on the front. This is Lee Ellickson. This is from Morning Bloom. I love these little guys. They're so cute. And these are all my own stickers. And then on the back, this is also my own sticker. These are available currently in my Etsy shop if you want to get one of those. Kind of perfect, right, for my mixed media sketchbook? Let's get right into it. Front cover is a hot mess. I can't really even tell you what a lot of this is. This was like my own packing tape, my old P.O. box. Don't send stuff to that. I don't live there anymore. Let's see. This is an old witch sticker from Fran. This is my own. This is my own. Random pug stickers someone has sent me. This is mine. A random Supreme sticker. A lot of this is random stuff that people have sent me. I have older Art Snack stickers in there. My own little Mothman one. And yeah, just a whole bunch of random stuff. I always like to cover the inside with stickers like crazy. A lot of this I'm not even necessarily going to remember because I started it such a long time ago. So it'll be interesting going down memory lane with you here on some of this. I feel like this might have been a Patreon video as part of an unboxing. Like I think I was testing out some colors, something that I bought maybe. I don't entirely remember. This was packaging from the Nightmare on Elm Street Kylie Jenner makeup box, but I loved the packaging so much I wanted to save it. Random sketches. This is actually, you can see some sketches that I was doing for my tarot project, the Magician card. I think I just grabbed this to dump ideas into it before I actually started doing more of my sketching in my dedicated sketchbook that is for that project. This is from Sabrina. I think I meant to go back and ink her, but I never did. She looks really cool though. Maybe I should come back and ink this. Hold on. Let me get a Post-it note. Future bun popping in here. I completely missed a page here. I didn't realize it till I went back and did the little music only flip that I was like, oh my God, I skipped an entire page. These were some head studies from the Meds 100 Head Challenge on Pinterest. So a lot of those are referencing images from that, and then along with just some other random kind of weird ones along the way. But I wanted to share this page just because I really love it. And I was sketching directly with just a red pen, and I really love the look of it. It makes me kind of want to go back and do more of these guys. But yeah, that's from the Meds 100 Heads Challenge. Clearly did not get very far, only did 3 heads, but still proud of that one anyways. Random things. I was playing a lot with this idea of doing like ombre or gradient sort of backgrounds behind my sketches. So just kind of mixing things up. Love a good dead bird here. Random things. Very random. This is where just I'm dumping leftover stuff. This is something that I actually taped in. I just dump leftover media into things and just get weird with it. I also like to draw and doodle while watching movies. So this is while I was watching Midsummer, one of my favorite horror films. This is probably one of the first times I saw it, I would imagine. More of that random Nightmare on Elm Street packaging that I really liked. A piece of scrapbook paper I liked. Random drawing. This is something that I taped in. So I might have been pulling things out of maybe an old sketchbook and then stuck it in there. I'm not entirely sure. This was designing my P.O. box stamp for my old P.O. box. Again, I don't live here anymore. Don't send stuff here. This was also, I believe, for a Patreon video of just trying to design what the new stamp was going to be. So it's kind of cool. This is what it ended up being. And here was the finished actual stamp. So I got it turned into a customized stamp. And then I always love coming back and filling in pages with random stuff just to beef it up a little bit. This was a art journal spread that was in progress, and I never came back and finished it. This is very typical for me with my art journaling. I do a lot of spreads at once, and I bounce around. This is actually a completed journal spread. This was one that I did right at the start of lockdown. So it made me just think about, that's why I was doing a lot of houses. When the pandemic started and when lockdown was going on, I was doing a lot of houses. Which is ironic now because now I'm about to start a huge project that has a bunch of houses in it. So, yeah. And I was really, really getting into my ghosts as well. Having a good time illustrating those. I really like this spread. Random leftover media over here. This may have been for a Patreon video. This is actually from my Big Stupid sketchbook that I ripped out the illustrations out of that and have started that sketchbook over as like a big book of patterns. So it just has patterns in that book now. I kind of have shelved it. I haven't done a lot of work on it, but this is from that. So this video is actually up on YouTube. Another crazy art journal spread, just a whole bunch of chaos. The thing I liked about this one is that I used some of my own illustrations that I got made on packing tape on here to like add detail to it, which I think is kind of fun. I used a lot of oil pastel on this spread, which I typically don't do, but I did for this for whatever reason. Another art journal spread that I kind of was working on and then abandoned. I'm not really sure if it's finished or still in progress. It feels kind of done for me. I didn't really want to come back and work on it, so I just kind of deemed it done. I mean, this happens. I mean, like art journaling for me takes a lot of energy and thought and effort. So if I'm not really feeling it, I will very often abandon things that I'm working on and just move on to something else. I do like this spread though. Maybe I should try to finish this. Why am I making more work for myself? Coming back and working on things. This was another journal spread. I did actually finish this one. I think I've used some of this as backing images for my thank you cards from my Etsy shop. I was playing with this idea of trying to use tracing paper to create some transparency and just an interesting look into my journal spreads. It turns out using tracing paper in mixed media work is incredibly challenging. It doesn't like to adhere to anything. It doesn't like glue. It's borderline a nightmare. So I abandoned that pretty quickly. It also looks like I was using something that had glitter in it. Interesting. But this one is finished. I did end up scanning this one. So this was watching Darjeeling Limited and just writing, playing with quotes and lettering. I think I only watched clearly a part of this film and then abandoned it. This was from my big stupid sketchbook that I ripped out and stuck in there just because it needed a home. This is when I was watching Bridgerton. I was doing a lot of these like Edwardian looking girls. This is another piece from my big stupid sketchbook. Messy doodle, swatches, a little bit of chaos. You can see how these mixed media ones really have a lot of random things in it. Again, playing with kind of creating like silhouettes or creating things inside of silhouettes a little bit. And I was doing this like big messy bun, 19th century bun thing happening here. This was, again, an art journal spread that I just sort of abandoned. This was actually part of a larger piece that I was working on canvas. And I liked the illustration so much that I wanted to do it here and just render it out a little bit just to experiment with it. I have since used this illustration in another canvas piece that I should take out and work on at some point, but I haven't. I like this like neon orange color going on. That's kind of cool. Random spooky guy, some headstones. Yeah. This was a Patreon video that I had done. I think it's on Patreon, or is it on YouTube? I don't know. It was for a video that I did where I just used art supplies that I found in my mom's art studio. So most of it was like children's art supplies. A lot of it's with Crayola and big chunky crayons and like a couple of and like random gel pens. Like you can see like the eyeballs are all just done with crazy gel pen. Again, still really hot on this weird idea of doing houses because that was just something that I was very into while in lockdown. This is me doodling in my parents' backyard when we were socially distancing. I would often draw things that I found in their backyard. Here's that bird again. This is what I used for that canvas piece that I was kind of talking about. So I was really working through a lot of it. I think even this like male thing here was something else that I was working on another journal spread. So I do that sometimes. I'll work out concepts that are happening, you know, somewhere else, then I'll work them out in my sketchbook. So it becomes just kind of an interesting place to dump things. These mixed media sketchbooks lend themselves really well to that. I put my transfer back in here. It looks like I even had written down some things here. So here's where I got my P.O. box stamp. So I stamped it in here so that I could see like what it looked like actually stamped after I designed it. This was when I was just painting some patterns that I wanted to scan for something else. I'm not sure what that's from. I have no idea. I don't remember. Big spooky hand. I think I wanted to do a lot more with this, but just never got around to doing it. More Bridgerton influence happening here. I was really into doing like the hair up in weird ways. And this was definitely like a detail off of a dress from Bridgerton that like caught my eye. I always love a wallpaper background as well. Oh, this was also a page that I spray painted. I like to spray paint my sketchbook pages a lot and then work on top of them. And that's how I was able to create this kind of cool gradient thing going on here. Messy, random, usually like I have leftover media for things. So that's what was going on here. I probably had some leftover ink from something and just did this weird pelvis thing. Here is actually a completed journal spread. This was just a fun playing around with photos and paint and stuff. I was experimenting with this to then turn this into a video again for Patreon. Sorry, I keep bringing up Patreon. I make a lot of videos over there. This was for a sketchbook club video. I was working it out in this first, and then I kind of recreated the process in my sketchbook club sketchbook to kind of follow along with like an art with me video over there. I really love this like just texture combos. I mean, it's amazing what you can do with just using pattern and textures without really even having to illustrate or draw anything at all. I mean, it's literally just a found image and then just crazy patterns and textures. It's a good time. Some eyeball studies. This is from my big stupid sketchbook that I just taped in there. Here's a random toad. I don't know what that's about. Another journal spread. Never finished this one. I don't think I ever will. This felt like done for me. Actually, you can probably see me working on this in a Big Bear, like Create in the Mountains blog. It's up here on the channel. I was working on that then and never came back and finished it, and I don't think I will. It's not calling to me. This is a recent journal spread. I just finished this one. Yeah, pretty happy with this one. There's an art journal with me video of this up on Patreon. That goes up September 1st, showing a bit of more of the process of this. I love this neon yellow. I will always forever love that crazy neon yellow. This spread was important, by the way, because it actually is what influenced the process that I'm doing for my Occupied Oracle project. So it really influenced the processes for that quite a bit. This is very random. This is from Comic Book Club on Patreon. This is just a random chunk of paper that I stuck in here that I think I was going to illustrate on, but never did. Here's where I denoted a blank page to come back and fill, but I never did. This is also from Comic Book Club on Patreon. Another journal spread. I think I started this in Big Bear. I'm pretty sure this was a Big Bear journal spread, so you can see that in that vlog here on the channel. And then just came in and added all sorts of crazy detail. I was really trying to play with negative space here, letting things kind of peek through, but I sort of kind of abandoned this one. Like, I don't know if I would actually really call this finished. It kind of just went in a weird direction, and I never really did anything else with it. This was also for Comic Book Club on Patreon, trying to come up with little patterns and ideas for things from a comic that we had read. Also Comic Book Club. It was illustrating teacups. This was like me sketching out the ideas, and then they turned into teacups later on. I remember this was something else that I also did in Big Bear. I meant to come back and illustrate something on this space. This is actually stationery from my grandmother that I have saved, but I just never did. Never came back and illustrated it. This was from a coloring page from when I was in college. I saved this. It was an anatomy coloring book. And I just had been saving it forever. And I'm like, when am I ever going to use this? And I finally just stuck it in here and did weird things around it. Believe it or not, I was a criminal science major when I first started. Well, criminal science, or I was going to be a mortician. So I was taking a lot of anatomy courses. So I have a lot of random things that I've saved from that. But I'm finally like just trying to use it up. Very unfinished, very messy journal spread. This is when I thought that I was going to turn my cacti art journal workshop into an online class. So I was trying to work through some of the processes and techniques that I wanted to include in the class, but quickly abandoned it because I just realized that that workshop was something that I created such a long time ago that it really didn't reflect a lot of my current work. So I abandoned it and stopped working on the class because I want my classes to reflect like current stuff that I'm into and working on. And this was just such an old idea that revisiting it was kind of like torture. This was a tell me what to draw on Instagram. I posted something and people gave me ideas. Someone had said like a giant radish, a tortoise. Someone said something from the movie Carrie, which I turned into a bird. I don't know if that was part of the suggestion or if that was just something that I did. This is in that Big Bear Create With Me vlog or whatever. Another chaotic journal spread. Never really finished this, but I had a good time creating it. These little marks here just makes me think of peppermint, and I really like how this kind of looks. They look like they're stuck on and also like flower petals at the same time, but they're just strokes of paint and gel pen. And I really like the look of this. This teeth paper will forever and always be my favorite, something that someone sent me, and I have a little secret stash of it, and you'll see that a lot in my work. Big old page of bananas, because why not? I love drawing bananas. I just think they're really fun, and you can do a lot of weird things with them, and they never look bad, right? You can draw a really wonky, weird-looking banana, and it's always going to look cool. So that's something that I'm always going to love to do. My white balance is also really hating this, so sorry about it. Okay, next up we've got like a weird art journal spread. I don't know what this is. I think it started off with I was letting my toddler do some drawing underneath it, which I let him do a lot in my sketchbooks and stuff. I'll just open a page and let him go to town. Nothing is like precious to me in that sense, that I like when he adds scribbles and marks and we doodle and draw together. I really like that. And then I can kind of come in on top and add all sorts of weird things. So the shapes and kind of weird stuff going on in here is inspired by his own marks that he's made. So it's kind of just a fun, like, collaborative piece, you could almost say, which I really love. Here's an actual finished journal spread. I love this spread because it's just got all of my favorite things in here. It's got the houses that I was super into. It feels spooky. It's got the really inky details that I love. Like, I love just the way that this house looks, and it's painted directly in. I always love when I can paint or illustrate directly into the pages. It's more challenging, but it's just something that I love the way that it looks and how it sits on the page. It takes me a lot to get this to look the way that it does. So I'm quite proud of the way this piece worked out. I also just feel like it encapsulates a lot of what was going on during lockdown and just maybe how all of us were kind of feeling during that. So love this spread. Another crazy journal spread. I think this was also done up in Big Bear. I do a lot of messy mixed media stuff when I'm up in the mountains. It's just like a really good place for me to kind of get a little primitive with things and let loose. And I tend to really experiment a lot when I'm up there. So you can tell these pages really reflect that. More of that teeth paper, I love. This was definitely a leftover page. I oftentimes will dump leftover paint if I'm working on something else in my mixed media books. It's just a good place to put things. This is from the Instagram Draw With Me. Someone had suggested a pine cone, so that's that. More messy doodles on the back. Some swatches. I think this was me also trying to work out some things for the cacti workshop that I never moved forward with. So I was doing some color testing and swatches there. This was from Instagram Draw With Me, or Tell Me What to Draw. Someone said to do a Yeti. So I did a Yeti, but I was using a lot of the supplies that I just happened to have, which were like Crayola crayons and a random fine liner. So he ended up being just really random. More bananas. Love a banana. This is recent. This is actually from my drawing club that I recently joined. These were blind contour drawings. We were up on a roof and looking out and doing some drawing. If you're unfamiliar with what a blind contour drawing is, it's basically where you're looking at your subject, but you don't look down at your paper while you're drawing. So I'm just looking at buildings and what's around me, but I'm not looking down at my paper. I did that all with the red colored pencil. And then I came back in a little bit later and added in some watercolor just for some shading, some of the detailing in the palm trees and whatnot. Just kind of helps it make it feel like it's a full kind of completed spread. This was from the same drawing club meeting, kind of just expanding on that idea a little bit more. And of course I added all my crazy mixed media to it to make it look a little bit more completed. Here's a big just neon page for you. I love just doing random stuff like this. This was also from my, this is recent as well. This is from my drawing club. We were referencing images from the BFG, a film I actually have not seen. So that was fun to draw from that. Just sketched it using a reference with some colored pencil and then adding a bit of Stabilo around it just to add a bit more texture and depth. This is also from Drawing Club. I had a chunk of kind of blank pages in this, so I was using my Drawing Club to kind of finish this. I don't particularly like this page. We were also referencing an image for this, but hey, it's a study and it was different subject matter and I was going along. Here's a completed journal spread. Really love this one. Lots of crazy chaos and texture and color. I love when spreads come together pretty quickly. This was one of those ones that it came together pretty quick. And I love that pop of yellow in the middle too. This was just a fun one. And you can tell that there's actually notebook paper behind it as well. Like I definitely think this started as like a leftover page where I just stuck a piece of notebook paper in there, leftover paint, and then it just grew into all this craziness here. And we're getting to the back where, again, I was thinking about doing that cacti workshop. It never came about, but these were color studies, combinations of colors. These were actually examples that I had used in previous years when I would used to teach it in person. I had these little color study swatches because it was about using a split complementary color palette was one of the techniques in the class. And there's the back page, just random leftover media and stuff that I have just stuck in there. But it's a good one. I feel like this this art journal, I feel like, really reflects a lot of interesting things. I think it reflects a lot of isolation and the start of the pandemic. So it's just kind of an interesting mashup of things, you know? But it reflects, I think, a lot of my mixed media style and just how I like to create in mixed media sketchbooks like this. So yeah, that about does it. I do think I'm going to come back and maybe add a little bit to those other ones, but for the most part, I would still deem this done. Am I really going to go back and do those things on those Post-its? Probably not, because I've already purchased new mixed media sketchbooks and am working in them furiously already. So it will probably end up on the shelf with the rest of them, but look at that chunk. Love it. Anywho, that about does it for this little mixed media sketchbook flip. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. Like I said at the start of the video, I'll be putting up a music only flip as well, if you want to check that out for just some extra inspiration of just a quick flip through of all the pages without me rambling behind it. If you're new here, feel free to give this video a like if you liked it. Subscribe for more content. I put out a new video every week. And of course, hit that notification bell. I mean, the algorithm on YouTube is just absolute trash. So, you know, if you want to be up to date on when I post a new video, be sure to hit that little bell and be notified when they go up. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.